And now for our feature presentation.
You'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
I don't know. Greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com. Driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Head to JBandGoldwaterShow.com as well. And you can find us there. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at SportsJB and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines, they are open. And you can be a part of our program by checking in there. And over the next couple of hours, we'll pop your comments into our show and make you a part of it here. We also have John Whittle, David Shelton, and Scott Glaze a part of our programming this afternoon. Scott on golf, John on a lot to do with the Gamecocks, and David Shelton, he will join us on a little bit of a post-signing recap and some more with the high school kids. We all remember David last week and what he's going through, and he's back to work and he's ready to work. And so we're excited to have him because he's the best at it. But this Thursday, Darren, it's kind of warm for the first time in a while, so that's neat. And hopefully you can get outside and enjoy that a little bit, but almost there. Friday.
Solid alternate camera view right there. It looks good. It's better lit, actually. So it's a busy last 2 days. We have a makeup high school basketball game tonight, and then another high school basketball game tomorrow night, and these shows and college basketball. So it's a lot going on. And yeah, it's finally nice out, which is nice. And then it's going to get cold again, and it keeps messing with my sinuses.
I know. Yeah, I know. I see Craig, travel day, headed to Maggie Valley for some trip. Craig, you're headed to my neck of the woods. My family has a house in Maggie. We're up there a lot. Matter of fact, we're trying to schedule a trip up there next month right now. And it is right next door to the Cataloochee ski area. So have fun and enjoy Maggie. I know my cousins are actually on the way up there this morning as well. They're going up for the weekend. So you might see them. It's actually a girls' trip, my cousin Kelly and all of her girlfriends. So if there's a bunch of obnoxious girls up on the mountain, it might be them. And say hello for me if you don't mind. But I'm sure if you're going to Maggie, you obviously probably know Maggie pretty well. But if you need any advice on anything to do, I can pretty much give that to you in great detail. Bear Waters Brewing is right at the foot of the mountain now. So if you haven't been down there to hang out, pretty cool place. And there's a bunch of good food, bunch of cool things to do in the area. And so I hope you have fun for all of us. It's a great time to get up to the mountains if you can. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much snow have you never been. All right. Well, yeah, you got to eat it. If you're staying in Maggie, you need to eat at Joey's Pancake House at some point in time. You probably need to go over to Waynesville if you can. I could tell you a bunch of great restaurants over in Waynesville, including a cool brewery called Boojum. It's got awesome food. Bear Waters right on Soco Road. Literally, when you come down the mountain from Cataloochee, you turn left onto 19, and it's right there on the left. Matter of fact, if you would go up from Bear Waters up into the mountain there, and that there's a road. It looks like a neighborhood going up into the mountains. You go to the top up there, and that's where my family's house is. So we spent a lot of time there. But yeah, man, so much cool stuff to do up there. So have a wonderful weekend, and if you need anything, reach out. Maybe we can help you out there.
Seems like a good time to go to the mountains with all the snow everyone has been getting. It's got to be
Yeah.
something up there.
Well, they got last, I guess, 2 weeks ago when we had Rob Fowler on, they up there, they had over a foot. And so it really helped Catalucci really pack it in.
Yeah.
And Catalucci's pretty cool. I mean, it's comparatively, you know, to Beach and Sugar and some of those other ones in North Carolina, it's not, you know, it's not as good as some of those are. But it's a neat area, and it's a neat little area. So you'll have fun up there. So
yeah,
enjoy that. All right, look forward to talking to John today. Hopefully, we can calm some of the waters with the Gamecocks coaching stuff and staff with Connor and Eric both starting the program. I think Tony Morrell put out a pretty good report this morning, kind of. And if anybody, look, a lot of people get on Tony because he kind of, you know, just laid out there, and some people sometimes just don't want to hear it. So hopefully you wanted to hear what he had to say this morning. I mean, he squashed all the this is because of Satterfield stuff. So we probably need to let that fly out the back door and not come back in. The guys left for reasons that are their own reasons, their own personal reasons, and they're going to go on and do other things with their life that they want to do. That's what it is. And we'll know soon how close they are to filling those roles. Obviously, I think the one that stands out the most is Eric's, and because he's an on-field coach. And from what I've been told, there are some elite candidates that have already immediately basically reached out to Coach Beamer. He alluded to that yesterday in his press conference. And since then, it's only heated up more. So the Gamecocks have a bunch of interest, Darren, for a couple of reasons. One, South Carolina's gotten things a little bit turned around up there, right? They're winning football games. That's a good sign. There's a lot of guys that want to come coach with Shane. That's a good sign. And the University of South Carolina, one great nugget I got this morning, which I love hearing this, and it's not the first time and it won't be the last, is that once again, a lot of the interest is in fact that the athletics director at South Carolina is Ray Tanner, and he lets coaches manage their programs. And he is not an AD who's sticking his nose in the locker room left and right. And so I just think it's good to throw that stuff out there because Coach Tanner catches a lot of heat, rightfully so sometimes, and definitely wrongfully so a lot of times. But this is a moment where he needs some credit because people like to work underneath him, Darren.
It's not surprising at all. Like what we heard yesterday from Shane Beamer. It is. I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back, but I've been saying this for months, right? That like this is a blown up thing. Yes, there could have been some infighting at times. It happens everywhere, right? I mean, there were ups and downs in the season. I get the fact that there was some, let's say they weren't just singing Kumbaya all year long behind closed doors. I get all of that. But I've been preaching patience on this from the very, very beginning. And to me, from the beginning, this all seems like a lot of message board fodder, and it's fueled by a passionate fan base that's happy to jump on something. And if there appeared to have been some smoke there, jump on it and blow that thing up. It doesn't shock me at all. What we heard yesterday, it's what I was assuming was the reason that Kimrey absolutely. I mean, it's his choice. Beamer alluded to the fact that he wrestled with the decision a little bit, but it's a heck of an opportunity where Kimrey is going. And Connor Shaw, look, man, if that's not what you want to do, go find something else and go make yourself, make your family, make your everything around you, make your life happier. So good. I mean, none of that surprises me. And the passion yesterday, I'll just go back to what I was saying. I mean, with the momentum and the positive everything right now around this football program, there needs to be some faith put into Beamer here. There needs to be some type of not wiggle room, that's the wrong way, but leash. He's got to have some leash from the fan base here because he's earned it. And this wasn't his decision, but he's obviously a part of these decision-making processes, and he deserves that respect right now.
Yeah, you know, what's funny is speaking with somebody this morning who was listening to the show yesterday who said what Darren had to say, which is what you just said. So it's a great point, and we'll find out soon what's going on. John Whittle's coming up, so if he's got an update, he'll certainly pass that along to us. There is other stuff going on in college football. Right now, it appears that Texas A&M is going to land with the top recruiting class ever, is deemed by multiple different outlets out there. But it has been pretty sensational. Some news this morning also from that side of the league is that Alabama's defensive coordinator Pete Golding has been arrested. He was jailed overnight on a DUI charge. So that's not good for Nick Saban. Yesterday we were talking about some of the new coaches that he has recently hired, former Gamecock coaches, and Coleman Hutzler, Eric Walford, and Travaris Robinson. This one, though, about Pete Golding. He's been there for 4 years, and he was pulled over and booked around 1 o'clock in the morning somewhere around T-Town. So that's an issue for Bama to deal with. Back to A&M, though. Jimbo Fisher yesterday took a couple of minutes of his time to really let some people have it that he's been wanting to let have it. He clearly, Darren, was waiting until he got to his signing day press conference. He probably, more than likely, I would say, knew that the questions were going to come up about name, image, and likeness. I'm not sure if this was a scripted rant like Dabo Sweeney had back in, I think it was 2012 or somewhere in there, but he was ready for it. And he clearly taking a shot at Lane Kiffin without saying Lane Kiffin. He did call out the provost or something up at Notre Dame who spoke on this. It was all because of a Bro Bible story Bro Bible got from a message board. And I don't blame Jimbo. I mean, you had Lincoln Riley yesterday as well, Darren, speaking out about the transfer portal. And there is probably some irony in that, and the fact that he just kind of up and transferred himself out to Southern Cal, and he also just took in the best quarterback transfer in the portal in Caleb Williams. So I understand that there's some people who probably took some exception to his comments, but I do think, though, Darren, that there is alone or aside from those individual in specific moments, performances by these coaches yesterday on a national stage, which got a lot of national attention. I think that we are drifting into a time period that is going to be valuable for the good people in the sport to get some control over what's happened, because we have seen a lot of change, and not all of the change has been bad. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, I was, I've talked to JC about this, talked to him about it yesterday. There's no problem with DeCarrion Joyner or Spencer Rattler or DJ Uliungalale or any player out there, wanting to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. That's not an issue. That's here. We know it's here. It's here to stay. Totally get it. But the bending of the rules, the transfer policy just kind of wide open. We're in the Wild Wild West, right? And we are, because we haven't been here before. And so it feels to me like we're entering a stage where some of the larger voices in the sport, Nick Saban has, I feel like, pretty eloquently spoken on a lot of these issues for a while. But we're entering a stage now where they're going to have some more time for coaches and some of the leaders in the sport to start really giving their opinions and rattling the cages of people who probably have some influence and trying to get some guidelines with how some of this stuff is going to work for coaches, for players, all of it. But right now, the new change, there's just not a lot of structure to it.
I'll respond here to my buddy Mackenzie. He did. Mackenzie throws into our chat room, Jimbo never denied the amount of money he spent. He did. He went hard after that report and called it all sorts of different creative names for that report. So look, is he right? Yeah, but I've seen that report many times, and my response has been the same the entire time. Like, what's this? Who's this guy? Why am I supposed to believe this message board post that this is what's going on? That's part one. Part two, there's part of a coaches have to defend themselves feeling about this, because they're all doing it. So I'm not going to sit here and say Jimbo Fisher is perfectly clean, the same way I'm not going to sit here and say anybody is perfectly clean, because it's just hard for me to imagine that with the resources that are available, anybody is perfectly clean right now. So I think there's a lot of pushback publicly by major name coaches trying to get out in front of the sandstorm coming in after their program to see what may have been done right and what may have been done wrong. And I think it's all a matter of how are we going to get control over this and make it that it's a universally accepted, it is a rule, but parameters for what you can and can't do. Because right now we don't have that. We don't have that at all. And what we're going to have happen, and I don't think there's any stopping this. It's just a matter of how wide the gap can actually get. We've talked about this. The rich are going to get richer. And it's not just Alabama A&M rich. The power leagues are going to get richer. And it's the group of fives and below that just start falling behind, because there's money and there are boosters out there for almost, not all of them, almost all of these programs. Do they have the same amount of money? No, they don't. Do they have enough? Absolutely. You have enough to go entice your kids, and you have enough to go put together a good class and a competitive class on the level of the, let's call them rankings, that we're seeing right now. So I don't know how much all of that changes other than rich get richer, others start falling behind, and it's just moving us closer and closer to where I think we should go sooner. Separate them, because it's not a level playing field, and it's not going to be a level playing field. Separate whatever you want, Power 5, 4 leagues, whatever you want to do, separate them out now and create 2 level playing fields, because there's no such thing as one anymore.
Yeah, I for the most part really agree with what you're saying. I mean, I'll throw some, I'm going to call them isolated examples in there. I mean, obviously Jackson State has had, Deion Sanders is a big part of that, but Jackson State has had some success. I saw Grambling is now issuing a university-wide NIL policy, which I'm a little confused by. I just don't understand the details. I'm not questioning it necessarily. I mean, I am questioning it, but I'm not questioning whether it's legal or not, Darren. But my understanding was universities could have nothing to do with NIL. Like, they couldn't negotiate a deal. They couldn't use it to recruit. They couldn't do anything. But, we continue to see reports and vague details in those reports, but reports that there are schools that are implementing not just NIL, not just NIL educational things, or I'm trying to figure out how else to describe this, but schools are trying to support their student athletes by educating them about NIL and how to take advantage of it and all of that. It seems like there are schools out there, again, like the Grambling report from a few days ago, that are almost negotiating on behalf of their athletes. And I was under the impression that wasn't legal.
I think my understanding is that it can't be, it's like a different arm of the school. So Miami's got something set up. Ohio State has something set up. We know Texas does as well. I could be wrong in that. My understanding is that Shane Beamer can't direct you, right? Marcus Satterfield can't help you negotiate those deals. But if there's another entity set up, another arm of the school set up, they can. That's, or at least they can guide or help or something. Because it's not like these schools are hiding what they're doing. So what they're doing when they say we're helping all our student athletes, they're not veiling that at all, right? So there has to be some gray area in there.
Well, there's a lot of gray area, that's for sure. We've continued to see that. I mean, there does need to be structure, and again, if we choose not to listen to the people who have watched the sport change and have been in it through the changes, I think we're really, really failing ourselves. And I am speaking about guys like Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban's been in the sport a long time. He's watched it from when he was a player. He's been through it to coaching without NIL, without an open transfer policy and things of that nature. And now he's adjusted to it. As Saban pointed out before all this even took place, he said, hey, we're Alabama. So look, we'll take advantage of it, and it's going to work to our favor and probably not a lot of yours. And he was right. It has. So, and I'm not saying that everything that Nick Saban says is right, or that everything that Jimbo Fisher says is right, or Lincoln Riley, or any other coach out there. Everybody has a little bit of a different take on it based on how it's affected them, or a different twist, or whatever it may be. But I do think it's time that we all listen, because we need to figure out what's best for the sport moving forward. What's best for the sport? What's best for the players? What's best for the coaches? Yes, I said what's best for the coaches. Coaches are getting hammered left and right, and I don't agree with that. Yeah, I think there's some slime balls out there. No, I don't agree that coaches just up and leave overnight and, don't say bye to their team. The Eric Wolford situation, if there's truth in that, well, I'm going to go to Bama while he's on a recruiting trip and then recruit the same kid to Alabama. There's a lot of sliminess in that side. I get it. I'm not saying everybody's perfect, but we need to find a way to get it to as perfect as it can be for all sides. And it's not always going to be, but we got to get it as close as we can. And right now we're not close. So
the answer,
that's what worries me.
And the answer is somewhere in the NCAA. The NCAA dropped the ball. Newsflash.
I think. Don't you agree, Darren? Isn't it almost time? Do you? Doesn't it feel like we're getting close? Maybe it's this summer. We've seen what's happened the last couple of summers. Things have blown up, and all these topics have really become hot button issues. It almost feels like at some point in time, somebody's going to step out and say, "We're done. We're out. We're out. We're leaving. Our league is done. If you want to come with us, do it."
That's what I'm saying. And I don't think it's going to be one league that says it. I think it's going to be a group that do it
Might
together.
Be the alliance.
Like the Power Five. I think it'll be the boys who can play on that field will say, listen, that we got to find a way that we can play on the same field together and have some form of unanimity, if you will. I mean, some guidelines. That's where the NCAA screwed this up so royally, because players do deserve to be paid for their name, their image, and their likeness. They do deserve that. They do deserve the ability to transfer without penalty. They deserve all of that. But there have to be some parameters, not you can do it this way in Florida and this way in Texas and that way in Alabama and that way up in Ohio. That's not going to work. And that's where we are right now. And I think that's what's frustrating the coaches so much. If you're going to succeed, you have to adapt and you have to utilize all of these things to your advantage, because other people will. But it doesn't mean you have to like it. And then the problem is who's doing what and how, right? So I think it has to happen sooner than later, that we separate these playing fields apart. And then big boys, go have your college football commissioner, Josh Pate's ready. Go hire him or anyone. Have a commissioner who can run with a set group of rules that y'all are going to follow, or at least close to it. And then you know where everyone is. You know where everyone stands and what's legal and what's not legal for everybody. And there isn't as much gray area. Yeah.
It is an incredibly interesting time. It is just continuing to change day by day by day. And as they implemented many of these rules, I think we all probably anticipated that there were going to be some that bent the rules, that found ways around them, or lack thereof rules. And that's kind of where we are. And we got John Whittle coming up, so I know we got to go. But, I mean, Darren, we've got coaches like Shane Beamer and others standing up on the podium yesterday, and we're living by these archaic recruiting rules. Don't ask me that just yet. Give me another 6 hours until his name is on a document, and then I can talk about him. But yet, we have this other stuff going on. It's a wild, wild west. And then we have these strange dead periods that pop up, and you can only communicate with the guy through social media, but you can't send him a text, but he can send you a text. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? I mean, what is the purpose of that? If there's a transfer portal out there where you can literally contact, 1,000 different kids at any time you want to, essentially, none of it is making sense. And so that somebody has got to tie the shoestrings together. And right now our shoes are falling off as we try to walk and sludge our way through this chaos. But we are going to hit a timeout. When we return, John Whittle will join us with the Big Spur right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and awesome.
You're welcome, my friend, Mr. Patrick Davis. Welcome back, 12:34 on a Thursday afternoon, a warm one. It's going to be chilly again for the weekend, so don't get your hopes up. But we always have our hopes up when we have John Whittle with the Big Spur.com. It's been rather active over there. Baseball season set to go. The ladies are number one. The men are trying to get it figured out. Oh, and there's always something to talk about with football. John's going to cover as much as he can with us today for the second straight week. What's up, man? Glad to have you back.
Hey, great to be back. Appreciate you having me.
Have you been busy the last 24 hours or what's going on?
Yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. You know, we all thought it was going to be kind of a quiet signing day for the Gamecocks yesterday, and it was a quiet signing day, but it wasn't a quiet day. That's for sure. So, yeah, been a little bit busy this week, but you know what? That makes it fun.
Yeah, it is. It is fun. That's for sure. I'm glad we do what we do, John. All right, so Connor and Eric have departed for other jobs in their professional lives. Looks like Connor's going to step outside of football, and Eric is still in football, but he is apparently headed to the volunteer state. Do you have any more information on where he's going and things of that nature?
Yeah, he's headed up to the Baylor School. It's a private school in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and you know they've got some good programs up there. You know, South Carolina's actually got a kid from the baseball team on their from the Baylor School on their roster right now, and then they've got a 2023 baseball player committed who is also a football recruit, and he hasn't been offered by South Carolina yet, but South Carolina and some other Power 5 schools are looking at him for football. So, you know, they've got some good athletes up there, and you know, Eric's taken over a very, very good program, very well established program up there.
Matter of fact, I just hopped on Twitter and just saw the Baylor school has sent out a welcome to Baylor tweet. Yep. And he is being introduced, I guess, or just has been introduced as a new head football coach. So, but now is he going to be the AD as well, or just the football coach?
Oh, I'm not sure about the AD football coach for sure, and I would be surprised if he doesn't have some other sort of irons in the fire over there. I mean, if you've talked to Eric, you know that he likes a variety of different things, whether it's the psychology class that he taught over at Hammond or whatever else. I would imagine there's going to be a little bit more to what he's doing up there than just coaching football. I bet he's got something else going on.
Yeah. So what have you know, I know Eric on a pretty good basis, I'd say, John. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I know him probably as well as somebody like you or JC or something like that. Certainly grew up watching him play football, was in the seventh end zone when he threw the fade. Everybody knows that. Eric is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. But what have you learned about him as you've maybe spent more time with him or around him, maybe specifically since he's been at South Carolina, just in who he is, what he enjoys doing and things like that? And the reason that I ask you this question, just so folks can understand, is clearly since this news kind of started to go out and became official, there were a lot of question marks as to why on planet Earth Eric Kimrey would want to leave an SEC program, one that he played for, that he has stated multiple times it's his dream job. He's from Columbia. You know, all those things are there. And people are trying to figure out, well, why would he leave for the Baylor school at the high school ranks up in the state of Tennessee? And I'm not asking you to speak for him. I'm just trying to kind of help folks understand Eric Kimrey and who he is and what he enjoys doing in life and maybe at what level that is supposed to be.
Yeah, as you said, I certainly can't speak for him. He hasn't spoken about, his reasons for leaving South Carolina, at least that I'm aware of up to this point. You know, maybe something comes out about that today, since it looks like he's having some sort of little press conference or introduction up there at the Baylor school right now. But, just over the years, I've just learned how thoughtful he is in terms of, just why people interact the way they do, how to interact with people. He's very much a people person, but he's a deep thinker, and I guess that goes back to his the reason why he likes psychology so much, and some of those kind of things, and very, very philosophical kind of guy. So I don't know that is any part of the reason why he's chosen to go where he's going. Maybe he's looking for something a little bit more than just what college football can offer him. I'm not real sure, but he's just a very thoughtful guy and a really deep thinker. And anybody who's kind of listened to his podcasts or listened to him talk can kind of pick up on some of that as well. So Eric's been somebody I've gotten to know a little bit over the course of the years, and have great respect for what he did at Hammond and what he did at South Carolina, and certainly wish him the best going forward at the Baylor school, and kind of seeing where his career takes him.
John Whittle with the Big Spur. You can head to thebigspur.com. I know JC has already, based on some contacts, put up an article over there about some maybe early candidates for this position for Coach Beamer to fill with. John, what is Eric leaving behind here? The tight end room, what he brought into that building every day. What type of shoes will the next man fill?
Yeah, I mean, the next guy's going to have a little bit to work with over there, and he's got whoever the next guy is going to have a great opportunity. Obviously, losing Nick Muse is a little bit impactful, but Jaheim Bell had a standout performance in the bowl game, and you look at him and wonder exactly how he's going to be used next year. If they're going to use him a little bit in a little bit more of a versatile way. A little bit of wide receiver, a little bit of running back, but he's going to be over there at tight end some too. So add in Trayvon Kenyon, who played more than I think people realize, mainly in a blocking role this past year, but gave some good snaps. But you add in Austin Stogner as well, the transfer from Oklahoma, and you've got a really good room over there to kind of look at. I mean, this should be a really attractive position to anybody who's considering it. So, I certainly think that there's plenty right there to work with.
What about Connor? Do me a favor if you can, because sometimes I can't even figure out how to describe them myself off the air when I'm just having a casual conversation. But what exactly was Connor's role in that building? I'm not saying that to disparage or downgrade or degrade or anything like that. I'm just curious. What was that position? What did he do every day when he walked in the building?
Well, his title was Director of Football Relations. So he was interacting with the players on a day-to-day basis over 100 million variety of topics. Basically whatever was on their mind. I think he had a role in career development and talking about life. I'm sure he had a role in career development and life after football, and helping guys get set up with jobs and contacts with employment after school, those kind of things. But he was really a sounding board. I mean, he wanted initially to be involved, at least when Shane got here, involved in some of the football side of things. Obviously, not being a coach, he did not want that, but he wanted to be involved in some of the meetings and being a little bit more hands-on with the football side of things. That went on for a little while, but he mainly stayed in the kind of role that he was with the football relations deal. So I mean, it was mainly interacting with players on a day-to-day basis and really being kind of a jack of all trades in terms of being a sounding board, helping them out with kind of anything that was going on in their lives that he had been through, be it at the college level, the professional level, life outside of football, and in the real world. I mean, it was there was probably no 2 days that were ever the same for him.
I would totally agree with that. Based on the little that I know, it's he had I wouldn't call it a difficult job, but boy, it's interesting. I can only imagine what went in and out of the ears of Connor Shaw and what had to come out of his mouth at times, probably, to have some of those conversations. So I don't, this is probably pretty early, John, to even go down this road. But do we anticipate that role being filled in the way in which it's built now? Or would Coach Beamer maybe look to maybe alter some things within the staff to find somebody to better fit another need? I know Marcus used to be in a similar role at South Carolina. Are they looking to fill this role with another former player or anything like that? Do you have any information there?
I haven't heard a lot on that just yet. I would certainly assume that Shane would fill this role in a similar capacity. That being said, Derek Moore was brought in, and there was a little bit of overlap in what those guys did. So it might be that Shane looks to tweak that position and do a little bit of something different. That's not something I've heard a whole heck of a lot on up to this point, but that's certainly something that we'll be looking into and trying to figure out. And right now Shane may not really know exactly what he wants to do with that one yet. I would think and hope that he's concentrating on the getting a tight end coach in, and I think that's certainly taking precedence right now. He's I think speaking with a couple of guys today about the job. So I don't know for sure on Connor, but we'll see something here in the coming days and weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, Shane alluded to the fact yesterday doesn't anticipate any more changes at this point in time. Of course, we all know how quickly college football changes, so that could change. It's all subject to change. What a word. Finally, John, last year, obviously, when when Coach Beamer was hired at South Carolina, he really went through a lot trying to finalize that staff. He retained coaches, they up and left on him, hired coaches who left on him. So there was a lot going on there. I'm not sure if this was I can't remember if this was addressed yesterday or not, but do you know anything about what Shane has learned? And now he's done this for a year. He's kind of been through this cycle of hiring coaches and trying to figure out the best fits for the program. And now he's certainly not back at square one. It's just a couple of changes this time around with guys who he's known a long time and greatly respects clearly. So it looks like that line of communication was there throughout the process. But what has he learned that you know of from last year to this year, and kind of how to go about the process?
Well, there's a couple of things that he's learned, and I think some of it is just because things have changed so much since last year. One thing that I don't know that he's necessarily learned, but has been reinforced over the last year is just the fact that he wants to take his time and be sure he finds the right fit, for whatever position that he hires. And that was something that, he talked about last year. Some folks were getting a little antsy on how long some of the hires were taking, especially at offensive coordinator. But, it's something that he valued in that moment and has been reinforced through that. But, he's also in a much different spot this year in terms of last year. He knows his players and, kind of what they want and what they need. But I think more importantly, the program is in a little bit of a different spot because, he was a first-year head coach last year trying to put together a staff, and nobody really knew what Shane Beamer was and what he was all about in terms of being a head coach. Obviously, they know who he is and his personality, but, who he is as a head coach was unknown. And, now it's much more known. South Carolina was projected to win just a few games and, doubled that total. And, had just, he's got more of a resume now, and it's got to be a more attractive position for people on the outside who maybe have some other options and, or maybe in a pretty good situation that they're not sure that they want to leave to go into a spot where you don't really know what's going on. So he's got a resume now, and I certainly think that is going to be an asset for him in the hiring process. It was with Sterling Lucas, and now is with the tight end spot.
It's amazing. It's amazing how things can change, John. It's becoming once again, maybe sort of a destination type job for some folks out there that are looking to continue their coaching careers. Real quick too, have you heard anything, just out of curiosity, on season ticket sales for this upcoming season? Has the university spoken on that at all?
No, not on that yet. The Gamecock Club renewal date is I guess just passed. I imagine that it's still very early in the process for the football side of things, for the football season ticket side of things.
Okay. All right, John, on to hoops. South Carolina's got another Quad 1 opportunity on Saturday on CBS. If you're not headed to the game, you'll watch it on national television at 1 o'clock. Tennessee Volunteers will come to town. Carolina is looking for some revenge from a fairly ugly early conference loss up in Knoxville, and it would even their record back out at 500 in the Southeastern Conference. It also give them their 14th win of the year, and Kentucky's on deck, John. So when we, as a matter of fact, let me just to glance at the rest of the schedule here. Tennessee, Kentucky, beyond that, you've got trips to Georgia and Ole Miss. And then 4 of your last 5 are also Quad 1 opportunities. LSU and Mississippi State at home, at Alabama, and at Auburn to finish the year. So by my count, that is 6 of their final 9 games that are Quad 1 chances for the Gamecock basketball program. How prepared are they to handle that challenge?
Oof. Oof. That's tough. I don't. This South Carolina team has, we talked a little bit about it last week, and I think it kind of came to fruition in some ways over over those 2 games that South Carolina's played since we talked. I talked about getting some consistency in point guard play, and you look at the Mississippi State game, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all for South Carolina when you look at how Jermaine played and how Jacoby played and how Devin Carter played, and South Carolina lost that day, got absolutely crushed. And you look back to the Texas A&M game when they went on the road and won, and played pretty well throughout. And Devin didn't start out well, and he was shown the bench pretty quickly. And Jermaine came on and played 29 minutes at that point guard spot with a little bit of Jacoby Wright mixed in, and those 2 guys played phenomenal basketball. I mean, you look at what Jermaine did. I mean, he scored 13 points and had 6 assists, and Jacoby came in there and he only had I'm not sure if he scored, but he had 4 assists, I believe it was, and had a couple of rebounds, and that was just in limited action, about 13, 14 minutes, something like that. So, you had great point guard play against Texas A&M and won, and you had really poor point guard play against Mississippi State and got absolutely crushed. And, I hate to make it sound so simple, but I think that comes down to how South Carolina is going to play over the course of the rest of the year. If they can get some decent point guard play, some good point guard play, they've got enough pieces around them to be able to win some of these games. But if not, if you can't get into the offense, if you're Frank Martin's defense, when they're in man, it's predicated a lot on that point guard, making it difficult for the other team's ball handler to get their team into offense. And if your point guard isn't playing well on both ends of the floor, then Frank Martin's team is not going to go. So it's going to come down a lot to Jermaine and how he plays. I think there's enough around him to where South Carolina can win a few of these games and make things interesting down the stretch. But if Jermaine's not playing well, if Devin can't find himself again, if Jacoby makes some freshman mistakes again, like he has been from time to time, then it's just not going to be very good the rest of the year, because the teams they're playing the rest of the way are just too good.
Couldn't agree with that anymore. I mean, John, it's to talk in just real terms here. We've all kept our eye on the rest of the league this season. Carolina's at 13-8, 4-5. We know how deep it is, and we know that Auburn and Kentucky are probably the 2 best teams. Auburn is the best team in the Southeastern Conference. Arkansas has gotten it figured out. We know about Tennessee, really like Mississippi State, especially after watching them the other night. LSU has seemingly struggled at times when I thought they might be a little better, but we know how good they are and can be. Alabama, same thing. Florida. I mean, we're literally naming every team in the league, it seems. So this is it sounds like a simple question when I ask you this, and I know you'll give a simple answer, although it's not a simple answer because so much can change. But what does it take? If somebody said today, all right, John, it's going to take X number of wins this year to get into the tournament, what is that, in your opinion, based on what we know to this point, halfway through the SEC basketball season?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to make it sound so simple, but I feel like you got to kind of circle the 10-win SEC total to feel pretty good about yourself going into the SEC tournament. I think if you're at 9, if you're at 500, then you're there right in the thick of the conversation, and may need to win a game or two in the conference tournament to feel pretty good about where you stand. But you got, especially with a couple of losses that are quad 3 losses in Princeton and in Coastal Carolina. I feel like you've got to at least make it to the 500 mark in league play to give yourself a chance, and it might even be 10 wins. But like you mentioned, Auburn's right there at 9-0, Kentucky 7-2. Those 2 teams are the class of the league, and if you look at Georgia and Missouri, and those 2 are down there at the bottom, but everybody else, and I even throw in Vanderbilt to some degree. Everybody else is just kind of clumped up right there in kind of the middle with still a shot at making some noise at the end of the year. And, you know, Vanderbilt's not going to put together a good enough run, I don't think, to be able to make the NCAA tournament, but they're good enough to come out there and keep some teams from making the NCAA tournament by winning a few games. So, you know, there's right there between 3 and probably 10 or 11 in the league that are all just kind of clumped in there together and are going to have to figure out a way to get hot. Because I don't know that. I mean, you can probably throw Arkansas and Tennessee in there as teams that feel really good about their chances of making the NCAA tournament right now, especially when you look at the net and those kind of things. But, you know, every other team is still fighting for a lot going into the back half of league play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, John, if you really want to start picking this thing apart, I mean, I would say this, obviously, if you win 9 or 10 games, you've beaten some teams you're probably not supposed to beat. So you can't go to Georgia or Ole Miss and lose, and you can't lose to Missouri at home. Those are just 3 games that you absolutely, no doubt about it, are going to have. If you get them, that gets you to 7, and then you got to find 2 or 3 other wins out of all those quad 1 opportunities. And it starts Saturday. We'll see if they can get it done. I sure hope there's going to be a nice crowd there to watch them play at the CLA. All right, before we let you go, I want to get a quick update on baseball. It's right around the corner, boys and girls, if you haven't paid attention. As a matter of fact, that LSU weekend when the Tigers come to play the Gamecocks and Hoops, that's opening weekend for college baseball. And South Carolina's hoping to be ready by then. They did get some scrimmages in last weekend. I think they've already done so this week as well, or maybe have some more coming up, John. What do we know thus far early here in scrimmage season before they throw the first pitch?
Yeah, I don't know if you know a lot right now, to be honest with you. They have scrimmaged 3 times, and if you think, you know, the team scrimmaged 3 times, you think you've seen probably 27 innings of baseball, where, in fact, I think they've played a total of 10, maybe 11 innings over those 3 scrimmages. So we don't have a real good sample size right now. You know, I thought Kate Austin pitched really well. I thought Josiah Seitler pitched really well. Those guys were 2 guys who, you know, I think really need to step up to have the pitching staff as good as it wants to be. Brent Belk over at first base is put together 3 really nice scrimmages, and offensively has the only home run so far, but, you know, has a bunch of 2-strike hits too. So he's done a really nice job. Those are a couple of things that have stood out to me a little bit. Everybody's pretty healthy. Cole Messina from down there is missed the first weekend of scrimmages, and he'll be out this weekend as well. But he's gotten out of his cast, had a little minor elbow surgery a couple of weeks back. But, you know, he should be ready opening day. But other than that, team's pretty healthy. And, you know, this weekend will be they'll play a few more innings as pitchers get their arms back up and their pitch count up some. But, you know, other than that, you know, I think we'll learn a little bit more this weekend than we did this past weekend.
I do want to ask you about the Braswell kid at short. I think I've seen your reports recently, and I know we're short on time, that he's maybe penciled in as the starter at this point in time. Gamecocks have a long history of starting some pretty big names and some really damn good baseball players at shortstop. What do we know about this young man? I personally don't know much about him. I just know he's young, and I know he's talented. But what do you know?
Steady player. He's at least not right now. He's not going to be a real dynamic player offensively or defensively, but he's a steady player. He makes the plays he gets to at shortstop, which is and he's got pretty good range. I'm not trying to make him sound like he's slow or anything out there, but he's a good shortstop defensively. He'll be a lot better with the bat as time goes along. They've actually put him in the 2-hole right now for offensively for one of the teams, but I think he'll end up being bottom 3rd of the order kind of hitter, at least to start out his freshman year with some upside there. But you know, he's a pretty steady player. He's gonna make some freshman mistakes over the course of the season, but you know, I really like where he is right now in terms of his growth, and you know, I certainly consider him, you know, far and away the top shortstop right now. So I mean, there's a pretty good chance that you see him as the starting shortstop here for the next 3 seasons.
Wow, that would be tremendous. It's got to be funny looking out there too, seeing Warren Mahoney and those guys working at second, and they're both about 6'4", 6'5", and here comes old Scott Wingo at about 5'8", looking up a foot, trying to explain to him how you do this thing. Hopefully listening, because he was the best second baseman I have ever watched collegiately play baseball. So an asset to the program, no doubt about that. John, we'll let you run, but for all you baseball lovers, well, for all you Gamecock lovers, obviously the Big Spur is where you want to go to check it all out. But baseball season's about to crank up, and it sure is special. John covers it better than anybody in the state. So hopefully you've got a subscription to the Big Spur to catch all of that. Thank you, man. Have a wonderful weekend. We know that there's probably some news on the horizon at some point, and we know that you're working hard on it. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me.
Later, man. There you go. John Whittle with the Big Spur in Columbia. All right, it's 1 o'clock. Time for a timeout. When we return, we're going to come take a U-turn on I-26 and come right back down to the Low Country. David Shelton with the Post and Courier. Yesterday was signing day. Matter of fact, somebody signed for bowling yesterday. Never heard of that. But
I've been to colleges with bowling alleys like right next to the arena. Bowling alley, swim center, arena. D2s have a lot of weird stuff going on.
That's great, man. They should have bowling teams. Bowling's fun.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to David about bowling when we return. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour on this Thursday afternoon. It's February the 3rd. Hey, by the way, boys and girls, the Olympics are underway. The opening ceremonies are tomorrow morning at 6:30. They have had a couple of events the last couple of days. The Olympics always start earlier than we actually know, for those that have missed it. And then I think the opening ceremonies will re-air tomorrow night in prime time. So if you are a fan of the Olympics, in which I am, then have a wonderful weekend watching them while Darren is betting on college basketball.
There's going to be like 150 games or something on Saturday. College basketball, I'm telling you, college basketball, I've said this before, those Saturdays, to me, they're better than college football Saturdays. The college basketball game is condensed. You know it's always going to be a good atmosphere, even if there aren't a ton of people there. Yeah, sign me up for college basketball.
What do you think about that, Mac and Cheese Shelton? Do you agree with him? College hoops over college football?
Ooh, over college football? No, I love college hoops, but I like it better than the NBA. But boy, college football, college baseball and college football probably rank 1 and 2 with me.
Yeah,
and then college basketball. But I do love college basketball. I like all college sports probably better than pro sports. Really, maybe the Braves and Yankees I might, but I'm a college sports and kind of like high school sports too.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, well,
since I made my living doing 33 years now.
Well, you know me, I agree with you on that. I'm a college baseball, college football guy. I absolutely cannot wait. And now that my kids are getting to the age where we can kind of start trimming some naps off and things of that nature, I was telling one of our local college coaches just the other day, I said, we're going to go to a lot of Citadel games this year. We're going to go to a lot of College of Charleston games. We're going to go up the road and go to a lot of games in Columbia. And because I've known Monty Lee for, about almost 30 years, and he is very near and dear to my heart, who knows? We might even hit the road and go to Clemson and watch the Tigers play just to support Monty. So
will they let you in?
Well, Monty will get me in. He'll get me in. I ain't worried about the rest of them. As long as I got the head coach in my pocket, I'm good.
He'll be dressed up. We'll have a disguise on him, so no one
now
knows.
Look here. And Monty knows this, and you know this too, David. I'm not going up there and wearing orange now, but I won't go in and offend everybody and wear garnet and black either. I'll just go watch baseball. That's all I want to do.
Right. That's the way I operate too. I don't go to I don't go to Carolina. Well, I hardly ever go to Carolina games, but when I did, I would not wear, orange. I would just, wear Braves stuff or Yankee stuff or whatever. I just don't want to get beat up.
No, that only happens in Athens. Haven't you been to Athens before? They throw bricks through your car windows and everything else. It's really a real pleasure to go over there and watch people. That's a tough place. So one thing that Clemson and Carolina fans can agree on every year, and regardless of how many national championships Georgia wins, we still don't like them. And even though they're really dang good. Well, David, it's great to have you back, and we're really excited to talk sports with you. We certainly hope with everything that's going on in your life that you've had a wonderful week and are finding some continued peace and strength in your life. And so thank you for joining us this week. It's a good week because there are a lot of young men and a lot of young women who were signing on dotted lines and pursuing their great dreams of playing college sports, whatever it may be. Before we get to some of those specifics, I do want to ask you about the new coach over at Oceanside Collegiate Academy. Fill us in on what's happened over there.
Yeah, Chad Wilkes is the new hire. He's a up-and-coming young guy. I would guess he's early 30s. Pretty sure he is.
Whoa. And
came from Lamar High School, which is up in Arlington County, and was there for 4 years. Before that, he was at C.E. Murray for 2 years. But he was a very good high school player, high school athlete, and has done a really good job You know, I think the hope there is that they can find a guy that will stick there a little bit. You know, they've had this is the third coach in now, I guess 5-6 years. I think Chad Greer was there for 3, and then Joe Call was there for 2. So they'd like to get some stability in that program, and Chad is definitely a guy that has developed a reputation as being a really good coach, a good offensive coach. They like to score points. They did at Lamar. I mean, really, they could have won 2 state championships the last 2 years, if not for Southside Christian. You know, Southside Christian won the last 2 Class A state championships, and they were just way better than everybody else. But Lamar lost to them in the upper state, you know, 2 years in a row, and probably without Southside Christian, you know, Lamar would have had 2 state titles. They were good enough to win it, but I think he's going to do fine. I think it's going to be an adjustment for him. You know, living in Mount Pleasant, coaching a different type of kid than, you know, in Lamar, it was all about Lamar. You know, it's one school, one town, and had several over the years. Have had several guys, you know, play in the NFL. LeBron Kirkland, probably the most famous Lamar High School football player. But it'll be an adjustment, and it's obviously a different type school where you'll get some transfers and that kind of thing. But I think as a football coach, I think he certainly knows what he's doing, and I think he's going to be fine.
Now wait a second here. You think Levon Kirkland is more famous than John Abraham?
It's probably good comps.
Yeah, I do.
That's a trick question. I'd put them right next to each other.
Well, yeah. I mean, neither of us live in Lamar, but yeah, it's hard to say. In Lamar, they could probably both run for mayor and win, but let's just say that that they're both really, really famous Lamar graduates, and you know, Michael Hamlin.
Yep.
Someone else. Well, the young man from South Carolina State, that Jacoby Durant is from Lamar. So that, I mean, Lamar's they've had a history of really good football there.
Yeah. There's somebody that I'm forgetting, and I can't.
Yeah, there's somebody else I'm missing because I had him on the tip of my tongue a couple of days ago, and then I had to remember this guy, and I always forget him. He's probably
B.J. Goodson. B.J. Goodson.
Oh, B.J. Goodson. That's him. Yeah, the linebacker.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, for a small town and a small school, they've cranked them out pretty good.
No doubt.
You know, like I said, it'll be a little different for Chad up at you know, in Mount Pleasant, at Oceanside. But like I said, I think he's, as a football coach, he's going to do fine once he gets adjusted to that different kind of life there on the Mount Pleasant side of things.
I would agree with that. A little bit different over there from Lamar. Hey, on the staff, I know Casey Crosby is stepping away from coaching. Is Willie Alford staying on staff at OCA?
I have heard yes and no, and unfortunately I haven't heard it from Willie Alford, who would probably know more than anybody. But I think the general consensus is that he was interested in being an assistant coach, a defensive coordinator, if the right guy, you know, wanted him to be there. I know Antoine Ribbons, I never have said his name right, but he's the offensive line coach and was the offensive coordinator, South Carolina guy. You know, I think he applied to be the head coach, and, you know, whether or not he would stay on, I don't know. I have not heard, but I'd originally heard back in November when Joe Call resigned that pretty much everybody on the staff was gonna leave. So Casey Crosby, I had heard definitely. I've been hearing that for 2 months. You know, I think he's going to go into the training and training aspect of things. athlete training type thing. But Willie, I don't know. I think we're going to hear a little more about that in the coming weeks. But I think I tell you, I mean, I'm not advising Chad Wilkes, and I haven't spoken to him, but well, if I could keep Willie Alford and Antoine on my staff, I would sure do what I could to keep them on the staff. That's two very important pieces of that coaching staff. Some of the other guys I don't know that well. I just know what Willie did with the defense and what Antoine did with the offense and the linemen. I would try to keep those guys if they wanted to stay. I think if they want to stay, I think they're going to be there. I think Oceanside, the community, the school, the administration, all that, I think they love them. I've not heard a lot of negatives. And, wherever Willie goes, his son goes. Yeah. And his son was going to be a rising junior, and he's a very good defensive back, wide receiver, very good athlete. So that would be another reason I'd want to keep Willie, is to keep his boy there. But we'll see. I think over the next couple of weeks it'll kind of shake out. You'll start hearing a little more. It's kind of mum right now. You don't hear a whole lot.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Willie certainly was a great player for the Gamecocks, and his son is being recruited early and often now, and he's going to turn into one of the next pretty good ones, if not better than that, to come out of our neck of the woods. David, this year, though, the signing day stuff is certainly shifted. We always have to kind of ramp up now in December, and then we do it again in February. Not as much drama as you've pointed out before on the February signing date as there once was. It sure was fun, but it's changed a little bit. But a bunch of young men and a bunch of ladies were able to kind of ink their names yesterday, and from our area at least, that are going to move on and pursue their dreams. One of the names I was keeping an eye on was somebody that you and Darren had talked about all fall as one of the better players in the Low Country, and that was West Ashley's Jaleel Porter. What happened with him? He's going to VMI.
Wow! He signed yesterday with VMI and got a late offer. I wrote about him yesterday. I was at his signing, and he really didn't get any offers until late, like November, which we were all going like, okay, what's going on here? This guy's really good. And for whatever reason, I mean, he was not an academic problem. He was not a person problem. He was not an athlete problem. And he was a really good all-around guy. And I think really the whole mess with college football right now with the portal and everybody getting another year or getting 2 years, or there's 24-year-olds playing college football now. That's not the way it was designed. No. I think all that played a part in his recruiting and a lot of guys recruiting really. But I think at the end, I think he ended up at a place that he wanted to go. He said he's very comfortable with the military style. He likes their offense. He thinks he's going to become a factor. Probably going in as a DB and special teams guy, but said he had hoped that he might get a shot at running back at some point. But he's very happy. It does make you it does make you scratch your head, because there's another military school that is very close to where you and I are sitting, and he didn't go there, and I don't know that he was offered there, but that's okay. I mean, people have their choices. The colleges pick the guys they think fit, and then the athletes pick the schools that fit them. But I did find it. I mean, I was just I found it. I chuckled a little bit when I saw he was going to BMI, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Charleston Southern could have used a kid like Jaleel Porter. I don't know that they offered him, but certainly they could have used an athlete like him. So I think it's good for him. I'm happy that there are a lot of kids today that are still looking, still hoping. And there'll be a lot of kids signed over the next couple of weeks, because now that colleges have their rosters, they can kind of look, okay, we didn't really do good in this area. We need to see what's out there. So I think you'll see some more, not Power 5 type stuff, but schools like Charleston Southern and the Citadel and FCS type schools. But good for Jaleel. I mean, he's a really good kid, and I never heard from an opposing coach, and certainly from anybody at West Ashley, a negative word about the kid, which made his recruiting all the more. Just that's why Darren would question it. That's why I would question it. And I wrote a story back in October about Demetrius Simmons at Goose Creek that signed with South Carolina State, and Jaleel Porter, probably two of the best backs in the state, and they weren't getting any offers. But that's just the way college football is now. Unless you're a big time, SEC, ACC, Big Ten kind of guy, you may have to be a little patient, which is okay, but it's just different than it used to be.
I think we're seeing those recruiting issues trickle on into basketball too. I was talking with Anton Saunders, First Baptist coach, and he's got some kids who can play. And it was part of our discussion earlier this morning that, it's rosters that still have COVID holdovers. It's the transfers.
Yep.
It's guys getting looked at later now than they were in the past. And it's I guess, an adjustment period, even I guess for all sports. I mean, if it's happening in football and basketball, it's happening for probably most sports.
Well, I can tell you in college basketball, there are a lot of mid-major type schools, like, schools that would play in the Big South or the CAA or, the mid-majors. We know who they are, that are not recruiting high school kids. They're recruiting out of the portal.
Yep.
Because, and I think we talked about this before, you can go into the portal and find a kid that has played 2 years of college basketball, is 21 years old, has developed athletically, physically, mentally, academically, and you can go in the portal and try to get that guy versus trying to get a 17-year-old kid who is still maybe 2 years away from being that guy. So why not go get the guy you can get now? And in 2 years, these high school kids that end up at a small school, an NAIA school or a JUCO or whatever, then they're going to get recruited out of the portal when they go in the portal. So it's just the whole cycle is totally different now. It's just a different recruiting world. And I've talked with Barkley Harbaugh about it, and he played Jacksonville and he played Tennessee State, and both of their rosters had 10 or 12 guys that had played at other schools before their school. So Jacksonville, I think it was either Jacksonville or Tennessee State, had one high school freshman or guy that just came out of high school on their roster. The rest of them were, in the parentheses by the roster, they went to a different school, and that's how they built their program. And I think that's going to trickle down. Like I said, the top dogs, the ACC, SEC powers, they're going to get those high school kids. They're going to recruit the McDonald's All-Americans and all that. But guys like at First Baptist, and he's right, they do have a couple of really good players. I think they may have to go to a lower level and perform and improve and build themselves up academically and athletically, and then hit the portal, which again, it hurts the smaller schools now. They're going to get these kids for 1 or 2 years. Boom, they're going to lose them, and the other schools will get them. So it is a trickle down effect, and it, listen, I do not like the portal. I do not like this at all. I don't think but I understand why they have it, and it's not fair to athletes to have to sit a year when they transfer if they find out they made a mistake going somewhere. I understand the right to do that, but as a sports fan, I don't like the idea. I don't like it. I don't like the NIL, but I understand why it's there, and I see everybody's point. I see both sides, but when I come down to having to make a decision as to yes or no, it's a no for me in both counts. It's just like I said, I understand it, and they have rights and blah blah blah, but I don't like the way it is, and I guess that's because I'm almost 56 years old.
Well, I mean, but David, I mean, to your point, and we hit on some of this at the top of our program today as well. I mean, it was what a lot of the coaches have said, who've actually discussed it. Now, I'm not talking about just press conferences. I know Lincoln Riley had some things to say yesterday, but we've had other coaches. I mean, Kirby Smart did a sit-down interview, and others who have spoken about it at length, who said, look, it's not about liking it or not liking it. It's more about how this happened, how it unfolded, how it rolled itself out with no parameters, with no guidelines, with no guardrails. It was just like, okay, we're under pressure to make this happen. We're meeting with Congress every couple of weeks. We've got to make sure that the guys have NIL opportunities so we don't get sued. We got to make sure the guys can transfer so we don't get sued. And they just kind of let it all happen after taking a hardline stance for so long, saying, well, no, we're not worried about that. We're not going to do anything. But it was coming, and everybody knew it was coming, and they did nothing to make sure there was structure around what came with it. And I think people I'm not trying to
the Wild West.
And I'm not trying to speak for you.
No rules.
Yeah, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I think that many of those who grew up in a different era, and hey, look, me and Dare grew up in a different era too, because we didn't have any of this crap when we were younger. I think though, for a lot of people like us, that even though I haven't been a big fan at all of a lot of these changes, but had they actually rolled them out there with some type of structure, I would have been okay with it. Okay, we got new rules to play by, but nobody's playing by the same rules, and that's the problem.
I totally agree. I have always said, I have always felt that college athletes deserve a piece of the pie, so to speak. I totally understand, guys like my buddy Phil Kornblut say they're getting a free education, they're getting free housing, they're getting free meals. I agree with all that, but I always felt like, maybe we should just give everybody like $1,000 a month, or every athlete. Football can pay for it all, to be honest with you. They can pay for every sport, but the sports that can handle themselves, the basketballs and stuff like that. But like you said, they rolled this out with no rules, no format, no guidelines, and it is nuts. Like, I know I saw Jimbo Fisher's press conference yesterday, and I don't know Jimbo, and I don't have a opinion of him either way, positive or negative, but I got to call BS on a lot of stuff he was saying yesterday. They maybe they don't have a $30 million fund to sign high school kids, but there's some stuff going on, and it's unchecked, and it's probably going on at Clemson and South Carolina and Alabama. I'm not saying Texas A&M is the only one doing it, but that is not what college athletics was designed to be. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know. In a way, it puts a lot of pressure on Jimbo Fisher. If they don't win a national championship in the next 4 years, I'm going to be looking for a job because you got a lot of people kicking in a lot of money, and they're not doing that because they want to help kids. They're doing that because they want to win a national championship. So I think that's taking over athletics, that mindset, and I don't think that it's good.
You know what? I'm glad you've got the balls to say it, because a lot of people don't. At the end of the day, you're right. A lot of those big oil tycoons and guys that are chipping in $500,000 here and $1 million there. Sorry, they don't care about those kids. They just want to make sure they get them on campus and strap a uniform on so they can put a ring on their fingers. That's what they care about. They care about beating Texas. They care about beating TCU. They care about owning the state. They care about owning the SEC and beating Alabama and Georgia and anybody that comes from the East, and they care about winning the whole shebang. And at the end of the year, they probably don't even know who that $1 million went to. Have no idea who's out there promoting their oil rig,
and
or
it's
whatever
true
it
everywhere.
Is.
Yeah, and
it's not just A&M or oil; it's everywhere.
Yeah.
As I said, everybody's probably doing it. It's just that Texas A&M has made it like wide open. Like they're not hiding anything, and I think that kind of taken some people aback. it did me. And and it's going to become sort of the rich get. We've always said the rich get richer. The Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Ohio State. Those schools that are always in the top 5 or 10 in recruiting. Well, those rich are going to get a lot richer because the money is now going to be affecting where a kid decides to go to college. And what's the, like the kid at Ohio State that skipped his high school senior year, and now I think he transferred to Texas or whatever, Ewers, or I can't remember his name, Ewing or whatever it was. But I mean, he had $1 million contract before he stepped on campus, and he was still like a high school kid. And now that, I guess that contract's null and void because the guy never saw the field, and now he's at another school. But I mean, what are we doing here? What animal have we created? Again, I'm all for taking care of athletes and sharing some of that, millions and millions and millions of dollars that these SEC schools and schools like Clemson are raking in off their football program. But man, we gotta have some sort of, we gotta have some guidelines here. We gotta have an NIL Bible that people have to follow. And unfortunately, the NCAA has become so weak, but through fault of their own. It's their own fault. But they become so weak, they don't want to have to enforce any more rules. Okay, we're going to have this NIL rule. Then they're going to spend all their time enforcing all these. They don't want to mess with it anymore. It's kind of like, really, it's kind of like the South Carolina High School League, with transfer rules. It used to be, 20 years ago, boy, you had to, it act of Congress to transfer high schools. Now, hey, if the principal signs off on it and the other principal signs off on it, we good. We don't have time to track down every transfer. That's what's going to happen at the college. Well, that's what's happening at the college level.
David, before we let you go, I know that there's a lot of money floating around out there in football and basketball and probably some other places, but I'm not exactly sure how much NIL money is roaming around in bowling, but maybe Bryce Cady could fill us in the next couple of years. Cane Bay's Bryce Cady is signed to go bowling at Coe College. I mean this with all due respect to Bryce Cady. I have no idea where Coe College is. I've never heard of it. Where is Coe College, and how popular is bowling becoming in collegiate athletics?
Well, I don't know where Coe College is either, but Google's a wonderful thing. So during the break, Google it. But yeah, I thought that.
Hold on,
because Cane Bay sent me their list of signees, and it's got baseball, football, soccer, lacrosse, whatever, and then bowling. And I was like, Cane Bay doesn't even have a bowling program. I don't even know how this. I don't know how this all happened. It might be a good story, but I do know from Scotty Iceberg that he found out that the parents of this young man, Bryce Cady's parents, met at Sandpiper Bowling Alley and way back, like 18 years ago. So they ended up getting married, had this baby. That obviously bowling is a big thing in their family, and this guy must be pretty darn good. But to get a scholarship or whatever to a powerhouse like Coe College, the guy's got to be good.
He's going to Iowa. Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
It's in Iowa?
It's in Iowa.
Cedar Rapids. Yeah, Cedar Rapids.
Wow. So the guy's got to go all the way to Iowa to bowl.
Yep.
Royal Z's in Goose Creek, but Charleston Southern doesn't have a bowling team, so I guess that wasn't an option.
And he was, as a matter of fact, the home of Coe College is also the home of Gregory Allen Williams. And if you don't know the name, he is in the show that's filmed here in Charleston, Righteous Gemstones. But this might, for us sports fans, ring a little bit more of a bell. He was Coach Doc Hines in Remember the Titans. He was the defensive coordinator.
Oh, wow.
By the way,
he's a graduate. He's an alumnus of Coe College.
Yeah, big time bowler up there at Coe College. They called him Strike in college.
They're the Coe Hawks. So College is COE. Their mascot is KO Cohawks.
Interesting.
The Cohawk
Cohawk Nation is their hashtag. KO Hawk Nation.
Wow, I got baseball practice in a couple hours, but I'm going to spend the next 3 hours just researching College. You've got my interest now. I mean, that is. I'm probably going to go online and order a sweatshirt if you want to be honest.
Oh,
I'm telling you, man.
The picture they've got up on their bowling page of some guy on their team. I mean, that's a sharp uniform too.
This is a neat story. I bet Bryce Cady didn't think that he was, after everybody signing for baseball, football, basketball. Bryce Cady at Cane Bay didn't think that signing for bowling to College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, was going to be the story that everybody's discussing today. If anybody knows the Cady family,
I may have to do a story, to be honest with you. Now, I mean, the more I think about it, I mean, I volunteered baseball coach at Cane Bay, and I'd never heard of this kid or there was bowling. And but I don't like track every sport there. It's like I go to the baseball field, I drag the field, cut the grass, and hit fungos. But that's probably a story I'm going to have to look into because that is. I mean, I know there are high schools that bowl in South Carolina. In Skeeza, there is a bowling state championship. Like there are a lot of Skeeza schools that bowl. Well, I don't say a lot, but there's enough to have a state championship. So, but in the high school league, it's not a sanctioned sport. And to be honest with you, I don't even know. I guess he doesn't bowl as a high schooler. He just bowls and maybe sent some. I mean, did he send film to these colleges, or like how you approach the line and how your ball spins and hits the pins? I don't even know. When I bowl, I have to use those bumpers, so I don't have any idea of how that works.
I was just about to say,
I'm going to find out. By the next time we talk, I'm going to have information on how he was recruited to College, how they found out about him.
The AAU bowling circuit. It's a big deal.
AAU bowling circuit. There you go. Talk about money. Wow.
Have you seen the parents that run the bowling teams in that league? They are ruthless. They've got these kids sprinting up and down the lanes, doing push-ups and you name it, man. It's an incredible training regimen, and they make.
By the way, my granddaughter's birthday is. Well, it's tomorrow, but her party is Saturday, and it's going to be at the bowling alley, which she's 6 years old. And I'm like, does she even know what bowling is? Like, why are we doing a party at the bowling alley? And my daughter said, well, she said she wanted to bowl. I was like, has she ever bowled? Like, where have I been? And she's like, well, no, but I think, maybe somebody told her about it. So my biggest fear about the last time I bowled, I went over you approach the line and you're not supposed to go over the line. Well, guess what? Over that line, the floor is really, really slick. Like it is like waxy slick. You approach it, you're okay. You go over that line and your foot hits that thing, which mine did. If you don't have good balance, which I don't, you're going to take a spill, which I did. So I don't think I'm going to bowl Saturday. I think I'm just going to watch, and I might have an adult beverage and a slice of pizza or something. But I'll watch my granddaughter bowl, and I'll help her. But we're going to put the bumpers up, so I might bowl on her lane actually.
Well, just keep in mind, you better take this thing seriously for your 6-year-old granddaughter, because you could look up in about 11 years and she's signing a full ride to head to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You don't have to pay a penny. So, if you want to be debt free,
if she goes and I'm alive, I'll go too. There you go.
There you go. Good luck.
Retired by then.
Doing a lot of research during this segment today. The high is only 10 degrees and it feels like -5. So it's probably not a.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, let's not.
Never mind. I'm not going.
Yeah, at least check it out in the summer. David, we got to let you run on that note.
We can Zoom call.
There you go. We got to let you run. We got to get up to Hollywood and check in with Scott Glaze with some golf stuff. But great information for those interested in all of the local names, at least. you can head to thepostingcourier.com where David Shelton has compiled a list of low country signings, certainly statewide. Those names are out there as well, but on the Post and Courier, all of the local names have been put in the paper. So you can check it out at postandcourier.com. And we look forward to having you back next week, my friend. Hope you're having a wonderful week, and thank you for everything you do.
Sounds great. Y'all take care.
See you, man.
Yes, sir. David Shelton with the Post and Courier. If it's okay with producer Darren here, I'd say we just blow off the break and skip right out to Hollywood. And that's
we can, as long as Scott comes in. Scott monitors the show, so that he's our, I'm going to say, smartest guest, because when he comes on, he's monitoring the show because we're never on time. So he's just waiting for his turn, and then when he realizes it's his turn, then he pops in. So sooner or later, and it will be sooner than later, he'll pop in. He'll talk a little bit about Pebble Beach, where Cantlay is the favorite, and it's not a huge big name field, not as big named as it's been in the past.
Yeah, there he is. Hey, Scott.
I talked long enough to give him time to pop in there.
Well, look, before we get to the Pebble stuff, Scotty, everybody knows Scott, right? We don't have to do some big introduction to this. I just retweeted a article. Did you see what I retweeted, Darren?
I have not yet.
All right. Well, let me read the headline for you. This is from Mount Kick. Saudi Golf League reportedly offering Bryson DeChambeau $135 million to leave the PGA Tour. Holy crap. See you later, America. I'm headed to Saudi Arabia. What's up, man?
I tell you, I saw that too. It's hard to pass
up. What are the taxes over there?
I have no clue what the taxes are like, but I think if it's $135 million, you can figure it out. Yeah, you can make it work. What's crazy is that Tiger, in his entire PGA Tour career, his earnings just on the golf course, not off of the golf course, because obviously he has made a lot of money that way. He has made $121 million on the PGA Tour, and the Saudi Golf League or Super Golf League or whatever it is offering DeChambeau more money just to play and to be the face of that league. I think if that news has come out, I think maybe DeChambeau might be considering it. What I've also heard is that there's some guys that have signed some non-disclosure agreements already in regards to this Saudi league. So, or Super League, whatever we're going to call it. But I have a feeling it might be more real than we thought. I know it's been real, but at least in the back of my head, it's kind of, I've thought, well, it's not really going to gain traction. And now that we see all this money that could be thrown Bryson's way, it's kind of maybe his style and nature. Maybe he would go do something like that to be the contrarian. And then we saw comments out of Phil and the way he kind of bashed the PGA Tour and criticized them for being overly greedy, which interesting stance to take by one of the game's greats right there. So it's kind of full steam ahead. And with this event going on this weekend, I think some dominoes are going to start to fall quicker than we may have thought.
Can they force the PGA Tour to allow kind of dual membership here? Because the PGA has said that can't happen, right? But can they force that to happen?
I guess they could force it if it was successful. I think the PGA is going to dig in and not allow dual membership. I know that when all these talks started, one of the big talks was about the Premier Golf League, which was going to be structured much like Formula One, where you have 2-person teams, so on and so forth. There's a team aspect along with the individual aspect. And I know the Premier Golf League has now pivoted and they want to try, if they are able to get off the ground and form their league. They want to basically be a branch of the PGA Tour, much like the Korn Ferry Tour is, or PGA Tour Latin America or PGA Tour Canada. That they would basically be the premier side of the PGA Tour. That's the stance that they want to take if the tour ever decides to listen. They don't want to be a competing league, which is contrary to the way they originally started. This Saudi Golf League, Super Golf League, they want to take away from the PGA Tour. Earlier this week, Greg Norman in a press conference, they already have tournaments. They have this event that is part of their international league or whatever they're calling it. They already have events lined up in different countries around the world, including London, which I find very interesting. And they want to move into the United States. And I don't think off the bat, there's not going to be dual membership. But if this thing happens to have some traction and if it lasts and for longer than just a flash in the pan, that could be the case down the road. But right now, it is definitely. I mean, these two are arch nemesis right now.
All right, so let me pass along some details that folks may be a little bit unfamiliar with here, Scott, to try to help support what you're saying. Right now, according to reports, Ian Poulter, Henrik Stenson, which I'm not sure, Scott, and you could comment on this here in just a second. I'm not sure that those are necessarily needle movers. No offense to either one of them, but I'm not sure that they're needle movers when it comes to the PGA Tour saying, "Oh, well, wait a second." But apparently, they are currently weighing $30 million proposals each. You mentioned Lee Westwood, who, according to reports, well, actually, he admitted during a press conference that he has signed a non-disclosure agreement with this golf league. The PGA Tour has mentioned time and over again that they promise punishment. They've even threatened lifetime bans for tour members and things of that nature. And then you mentioned Phil Mickelson, and so I want to read this because Phil Mickelson's comments are they're pretty pointed. This is from the Outkick article. It says the 6-time major winner told Golf Digest on Wednesday that he has considered looking elsewhere. Mickelson called out the PGA Tour for its, quote, obnoxious greed. And here's what Phil said. It's not public knowledge, all that goes on, but the players don't have access to their own media. If the tour wanted to end any threat from Saudi or anywhere else, they could just hand back the media rights to the players. But they'd rather throw $25 million here and $40 million there than give back the roughly $20 billion in digital assets they control, or give up access to the $50+ million they make every year on their own media channel. There are many issues. That is one of the biggest. For me personally, it's not enough that they are sitting on hundreds of millions of digital moments. They also have access to my shots, access I do not have. They also charge companies to use shots I have hit. And when I did the match, there have been 5 of them. The tour forced me to pay them $1 million each time for my own media rights. That type of greed to me is beyond obnoxious. Does he have a point?
He's valid in his argument of the tour and their ownership of media, I think. I think it's funny that he's going to throw around the word greed in terms of the PGA Tour, and then he potentially is going to turn around and take $100 million deal just to play golf. It seems a little hypocritical there. Yes, Phil has a point in the digital media of the PGA Tour. I did also see that the PGA Tour, for the shot that Phil hit at the Masters in between the pine trees on 13, the great shot, one of his victories, that they charge in order to show that replay, I think like $30,000 a pop. Now I could be off on that. I saw that in passing.
Wait, who do they charge? Any media entity that wants the rights?
I would assume so, and that's what I don't know the full details.
Probably outside of their primary media rights holders. Like if we wanted to show it, we might have to cough up the money. But if ESPN wants to show it, they're already in a rights deal with them. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably spot on.
Darren, remind me not to ever show that on here then, because I don't need a bill in the mail for 30 grand.
Yeah,
I don't really care that much.
You know, I see the point that he's making there, and I think that there is something that the tour can work on in order to allow players to have more of their own content, more of the historic shots. Phil has hit a lot of historic shots in his career. Historic on the good end, like that shot at Augusta National. Historic on the bad end of when he blew it at Wingfoot. And made double bogey on the 72nd hole to lose the U.S. Open there. That was practically sitting right in his lap. He's hit a lot of historic shots. All of those shots are owned by the PGA Tour in terms of digital media. So yeah, I think the tour could work on something to allow the players to maybe have more of that piece of the pie. But Phil is a generational talent. He is someone who is going to. His name and his legacy will go on far past his lifetime. And to me, it would tarnish his legacy if he chose to become greedy and using his own word there, I think he would be greedy to go take this massive cash grab when he certainly, with his career earnings and sponsorships, that should not be an issue to Phil Mickelson. If it is, then he needs to fire all of his financial advisors. But
true,
he that would tarnish his legacy, in my opinion, if he chooses to play golf the remainder of his career for cash instead of for legacy and history and what he's already accomplished. I'm sure that when Phil Mickelson was on a putting green in California at 11 years old, and he's hitting putts, with headlights on in his parents' car waiting to pick him up. He's hitting putts to win the Masters. He's hitting putts to win the Masters, to win a green jacket, to be Masters champion. He wasn't hitting putts to win, $100 million from a Saudi golf league. So I really, I hate that he is pushing this narrative. Because I just don't think it's good for the game. It's not what any of us get into the game of golf for. I think it's great that we are. It's like Patrick Cantlay said in his press conference earlier this week. It's great that we are talking about making more money for this sport. That is great. But in the way that this league is trying to do it, I don't think it's good. I think we potentially could have a league full of guys late in their career, like a Phil Mickelson, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, guys that, probably don't have a chance to compete on the PGA Tour anymore. And then have guys that are your villains, so to speak, like a Patrick Reed and a Bryson DeChambeau. And what a motley crew that would be to watch. It would certainly be great.
What about some of the young guys, Scott? I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, you're Scott Glaze. You crack into the tour for the first time. You're 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 years old, whatever. Young enough to where you're still kind of just getting started in your life. And I'm not, $100 million is not going to be on the table for you, but $10 million might be, 15 million might be. Saudi money, that's just chump change to those guys. They identify a young player in America who they basically look and say, look, you're taking a real risk. This is guaranteed money. Get your life set right now. You don't have to play the cuts of the PGA Tour and balance the cash. We're going to write you a check just to come over here and play. Why would you say no to that when you've got the rest of your life to worry about?
It's a great point. It's hard. It is hard to argue that. It's hard to argue that you could be set up financially for the rest of your life and take care of all of those around you. That's hard to say no to. It'd be a very, very tough decision. Who is going to be that first person to do that? Because that if
somebody's going to do it,
someone will do it.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't know.
And I don't disagree with you. I mean, like, I don't disagree with you. I totally agree with everything you're saying. I'm just saying, I got 2 little kids at home. Somebody's like, dang, you might have a shot. I'll give you $15 million. I'd be like, all right, you got a pen? Yeah, I'll fly to Saudi Arabia right now. I mean, it's just hard to say no to.
Yeah, not easy to make it on the tour. I mean, even once you get up there, it's not easy to make it. So if you knock it on,
and I'm not talking about Jeff Scott. Jeff Scott? What? I'm not talking about Justin Thomas. I mean, what about a Will Zalatoris? You know, we all think he's going to be a great player, no doubt about it. But why would he say no to that? Get that initial cash and whatever.
You know, it's an interesting debate because we've never ever had this in golf, and that's the thing that I love about the journey to the PGA Tour and in professional golf of you've got to climb that ladder. You got to pay your dues. You got to make it. It is you. Yeah, you might have a caddy, a swing coach or whatnot, but the great thing and the difficult thing of golf all in one is the solitude. And, you know, it takes a lot of mental toughness, a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work to be able to make it to the PGA Tour. There's no draft. There's no draft for the PGA Tour. There's no, hey, we really think you're a talented 18-year-old. You're a talented 21-year-old. We're going to draft you onto the PGA Tour. You get a signing bonus. You're set. So we've never had this in golf. You've had to earn everything that you get. And that's what I love about it. It's great, you know, to see the guys like Luke List last week, for example, is a guy who has grinded his butt off his whole life and has never won on the PGA Tour. He was a guy that if we had a draft in golf, probably would have gotten drafted back in 2004 out of Vanderbilt when he won the U.S. Pub Links. And he was one of the best amateurs in the country. And we thought for sure, hey, this guy, he's going to make it. He's going to be a household name on the PGA Tour. And it has not happened. And he has struggled, and he has seen peaks and he has seen valleys. And he finally, now he's 35 years old and has won on the PGA Tour. And I think that, to me, as a golfer and as a competitor, and why I got into this game, is a lot more gratifying than just being stroked a check just to play. But I can get off of my high horse, I guess. It'll it's you're right, JB. It's going to happen. Someone's going to take the money, and we'll see how it all unfolds. I think it will make for a great ESPN 30 for 30 one day. Maybe the rise and fall of the Super Golf League, and who went with it and who went against it. Yeah,
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's a matter of how long can it sustain itself. They might be able to shell out $500 million to get a bunch of stars over there, but at some point in time, though, the rest of the world is going to have to pay attention to it, and if they don't, then they're going to go under anyway. So the
biggest thing, I guess, as we go forward with this is where the major championships are going to align themselves.
Yeah.
And because the major championships are not sanctioned by the PGA Tour. You know, the Masters is run by the Augusta National Golf Club. U.S. Open is put on by the USGA. PGA Championship by the PGA of America, not the PGA Tour, and the Open Championship by the R&A. So if they align to where you can still qualify for these events in the Super Golf League, Saudi Golf League, whatever it is, then we might see more players jump, because you still have the prestige of being able to play in those major championships. If they do not allow qualification from events in these competing leagues, then I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to gain traction, because even though a $10 million check looks really good, to a lot of these guys, a green jacket looks a lot better.
Yep.
And not ever having the opportunity to compete for that, or for the U.S. Open trophy, or the Claret Jug, you know, that would, I think, weigh heavily.
Yep. I love that. Sport itself, this prestige of the sport itself, could save the sport from the people that run it. And that, to me, tells you all you need to know about golf and its place in sports, to be honest. All right, Scotty, real quick before we let you run, looks like Chase Seifert is leading out there at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He is 4 under through 7. Matt Neesmith not far behind him. He's at 2 under. Cantlay's at 2 under. It's not a huge, very notable field this week, but they are at Pebble, and that's always fun to watch, certainly. And then I think we've got the the drunk tank tournament coming up next, right? All the folks go out there and they get hammered all day and throw crap at each other, and then they all go to jail and golf tournaments, and they let them out on Monday morning, right? Isn't that kind of how it works?
Yeah, that's basically how it works. The waste management. And it'll be cool that we'll be back at full capacity for that. After COVID. So that'll be a lot of fun. I love this week on the PGA Tour. Pebble Beach it is heaven on earth for me. It's my favorite golf course that I have played on the planet. And it is such a special place. I love watching this event, and love waste management next week too. But this week on who to be on the lookout for. I loved how Jason Day made a resurgence last week. Had a great run. Since 2015, he's got the second best scoring average here at Pebble Beach. He's had 11 top 20 finishes. I think he's got some good momentum from last week. But I will give your winner this week. It's going to be Maverick McNeely. Played well last week.
Hole in one last week, didn't he?
Had a hole in one last week. In the last 3 seasons, he is tied with Patrick Cantlay in the state of California at the best score in the state of California. They were both 99 under par in the last 3 seasons. He grew up in this area. His parents have a house in the 17-mile drive community. So he comes from good stock, I guess you could say. But he is very familiar with this area. This is a special place for him, and I think that familiarity. And he's been one of those guys that has got a lot of talent. Is he ever going to break through? And I think he's getting closer and closer. He finished runner-up here last year. And so I think all those things are going to help him this week. At least that's why I'm picking him. We'll see.
That is all the Top Gun of golf, Maverick McNeely.
I mean, it's a great name too, so that certainly helps.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's all right. Well, go get him, Mav. For those that want to get out there and play around the golf, today's Thursday, and this is the best day we've had in a while. So if you're not on the course, you probably missing it. I'm sure y'all are pretty booked up anyways. Tomorrow, I just pulled up the weather here. You can it's going to be fine until the rain starts to come in around 4 o'clock. So get that in early, and then it'll be out of here really early Saturday morning. So Saturday, rain-free, probably cart path only in parts at Stono. Don't be stupid. Keep your cart on the path. If you don't, they will catch you, and they will make you back up like I had to do. It's pretty embarrassing. And then Sunday, it's going to be chilly but rain-free as well, so it's a great weekend to head to Stono Ferry. Book your tee times at stonoferrygolf.com, and you can head out there and see the golf pro, otherwise known as the man, Scott Glaze. If you ask for Scott, is nothing. But is the man here? Take a right, and he's right there on the right.
Yeah.
Out there at Stono Ferry Golf. And don't forget, if it is chilly, warm yourself up with those big old wieners. Hot dogs, guys. Perverts. It's hot dogs out at Stono Ferry. Hey, man, thank you so much. Great stuff. I know we didn't get into a lot of the details of this week's tournament and stuff, but the Bryson DeChambeau, that's an interesting storyline. That's certainly something we need to pay attention to all year long. So, Scotty, if we miss things and you happen to pick up on it as news pertains to that situation, let us know so we can talk about it. That's important.
I will, for sure. Appreciate you letting me have my get off my lawn moment. But
yeah, it's all right. I can't believe you wore a hat this week. What's up? What's up with that?
The weather's so good. I've been on the lesson tee all day, and
okay.
I have not gotten a haircut in over 4 months, so I got some flowing locks. So with as breezy as it is today, I had to keep it down, and I needed to show off. We got some new hats with the just straight Stono script here to match the Stono script there.
There you go. Yep.
So just showing off.
I love
some
it.
Merch. Yeah.
You get me one of those hats, I'll wear it on the air. I'd be glad to.
All right.
Or even just at like a discount, just I'm just kidding. I'll pay full price. Thanks, Scott. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, my friend.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you
later.
The man, Scott Glaze, the golf pro at Stono Ferry. We let him take us into overtime here. It's 2:05 on a thirsty Thursday afternoon. If you've looked out and said, sweet Jesus, spring has arrived, I have bad news because the chilly weather is coming in tomorrow. But you can act like it's spring today by going to the Dog and Duck if you're in the low country. Why not? It's a great day to sit outside.
Yeah.
You can go probably hang out with Darren and
Nah, I got a basketball game tonight. Not going to be there today.
Oh, yeah. Who do you have tonight?
Porter Gowd, First Baptist.
And that is on my TV Charleston?
Yeah, there'll be some talent on that floor.
Absolutely. 7:30 tip. Porter Gowd and First Baptist always have talent. We've had talent today, too. Scott Glaze, David Shelton, and John Whittle are all really good at what they do. So is Darren Goldwater. Catch him tonight. Catch him tomorrow, all of us, at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show. We'll see you then.